What's up, my name is Naveed, and in this video I'm going to be talking about why I take every set to failure. Now, I used to be really skinny when I first started lifting, and I used to just do these crappy home workouts. Then I started actually going to the gym and stuff, and now I've made a decent amount of progress, I would say. But in the past few months, I've noticed I've really been slacking on my training, specifically with things like lateral raises or squats or stuff like that. Just haven't been going to failure, and honestly mostly like leg stuff, to be real. I've also just been plateaued at 130 pounds on my bulk. I just wasn't putting enough effort, and not just in my training but overall. Although now I've really started to take every set to failure. I've actually started like failing on my squats and stuff like that. I actually haven't like used the safeties, which, side note, that's why you should definitely use safeties on squats. Now, why do I take every set to failure? Well, one reason is because it's just more efficient, because you're getting more stimulus out of that one set rather than having to do a bunch of sets that aren't to failure and getting the same stimulus. This can save time and also just like unnecessary work. Why not just like go as far as you can in one given set, so you don't have to just do a bunch of junk volume. Also, when you go to failure, you're recruiting like all the motor units of the muscle pretty much, and this will help like grow the full muscle, right? Because if you don't go all the way to failure, like the fast twitch motor units only activate like closer to failure, so basically it just like activates more of the muscle. And at the end of the day, you are getting a greater stimulus, and I don't really think I need to worry about fatigue as much right now, since I'm only been lifting for like a few years and fatigue isn't really too much of a problem for me right now, and I honestly think it's a bit overrated. Another big reason I think it's good to go to failure and why I do it is because it's just foolproof. If you say you're going to go like 1 rep from failure or 2 reps from failure, then you might end up actually going 4 or 5 reps from failure and not even trying, because you're just giving yourself like a reason and a justification to not go all the way. And another thing is, it's just way more fulfilling and fun to go all the way to failure, because like you're just guaranteeing your results, right? Rather than just like going a few reps from failure and you don't really know if you were at that certain RIR or not, and it can just get kind of mixed up. But if you just go all the way to failure, you're just getting a good stimulus, and at the end of the day, like, nothing comes easy and you gotta work hard to get the results. Now, I'm gonna go a little more in depth here about what I mean by failure exactly. The way I like to think of failure is obviously just when you fail the rep or you can't move the weight anymore, but also whilst maintaining good form. And by that, I don't necessarily mean you can't do cheat reps. Like, for example, doing cheat curls, I think those are good. Although what I mean is, like, for example, on bench, you might start arching a lot on that to get that last rep, or like your butt comes way off the bench and it just turns into a hip thrust. You should be able to like keep a good stack and like be pushing the weight with all your effort, but it won't move. Although if you maybe lifted your butt off the bench, it would get like complete the rep, but I wouldn't consider like that to be failure. Basically just when you fail the rep or can't move the weight without like a crazy orientation. And like you should be grinding out a few reps as well. Like a lot of people, I've watched their sets and they're telling me like this is failure, but their last rep is like not even that slow compared to the other reps, and they're not really grinding any reps out.
Well, you got 20. What the fuck?
If I'm known for anything on the internet,
Dude, you're known for going to failure, man.
I'm known for quitting early.
Like on that last rep, you're trying to move really fast, but it won't move. Like you're putting in all the effort, but it just doesn't move, or moves very slowly. Now here's where it gets kind of interesting. So some exercises are a little bit harder to like grind out than others, and you've probably noticed this, specifically like something like lateral raises. It's hard to really like grind out the rep, and the reason partially is due to the resistance profile and how it gets harder as you go up, and the hardest point is the top, and there's no real like lockout to the lift. Same goes for something like leg extensions. It's kind of hard to grind out the rep. But something like a curl has a sticking point. Like if you're doing a barbell curl, right, when your forearm is parallel with the ground and your arm is at 90 degrees, that would be the sticking point, right? And it's kind of not necessarily like easier, but just more like reasonable, kind of allows you better to grind through it, right? Because like you hit the sticking point and then you grind through it and then you complete the rep. But with something like a lateral raise, the sticking point is at the very top, so it's kind of different. Now you should still be trying to grind out the reps a bit on those exercises, but what tends to happen is, like, if you've ever seen someone do lateral raises, or like if you've done it yourself, right, and basically you're doing the full reps, but then you start doing the like partials a little bit too soon, when in reality you could probably just grind it out and get the full range of motion. So you're sort of like letting it happen, just like you're sort of losing range of motion with each rep, but you're not grinding it out to actually complete each rep. Like, if you've ever seen someone or had experience yourself where you're doing like any exercise, maybe lateral raises or something else, where you're doing like full reps, right? Then it gets hard and you start doing partials, and then after a few partials you see them do another full rep. Well, that means you started the partials too soon and you could have done a few more full reps. Now, I like to use partials a lot on things like lateral raises, and I think they're great, but I still try to actually grind out the rep, make sure I'm like at failure and can't get all the way up, then I start doing partials. And like I said, since there's no like real lockouts, this is where like just raw effort comes into play here, because it's kind of weird to grind out like a lateral raise on one of the last reps, you know what I'm saying? Now I want to talk about sort of like two types of failures, and this is what I really fell into the past few months and basically just robbed my gains. And it's like, you might still hit failure, but you weren't like really pushing that hard. Like, you could on bench, right, you could like fail the rep, but chances are if you tried harder you would have completed the rep. So it's like, it's almost like faking failure. Like, if you would imagine that you were trying to like fake going to failure in front of someone, like that's almost what it's like. It's like you failed the rep, but you're just not actually putting in the effort. And this is kind of what I was doing, and I realized I need to actually go harder, because like it's really just about the effort. Like, if you put in more effort, you can actually get a few more reps. But some lifts, it's kind of like, maybe you're more like fast twitch or whatever, like it's really definitive where you hit failure, and there's not much like effort necessarily plays in, but a lot of other things, like, it definitely plays in. You can get like a bunch more reps just by purely trying more. So what I'm trying to go for is just max effort failure, and not the, well, actually the studies suggest one rep from mechanical failure is optimal type of failure, if you know what I'm saying. So really, going to failure is all about high effort, but also over like an extended period of time. You have to be able to apply that effort consistently, just like until you've grinded out the rep, basically. You have to persist. Now, if you struggle to go to failure, which I did for a long time, I have a few tips on some things that might help you. First of all, just a quite basic one is heavier with lower reps, right? Because when you're going heavier and doing lower reps, then there's less factors, like outside factors, that could limit you from reaching failure. Like, if you're doing something with really high reps, the burn might get to you, might just get tired, overall like mental fatigue and distractedness. But if you're doing a set of like 6 or 7, it's way easier to just focus on those and go all out. Obviously I still do high reps, and you should have a variety, but I'm just saying, like, that could be a tip to help you go to failure. One important one that's overlooked is you have to prepare for each set, like mentally. Take a solid like 30 seconds to a minute, you know, play the right song, whatever, just make an intention to yourself that you're gonna go to failure on that set. Because one time I had a friend that he kind of just like jumped in. We were doing tricep pushdowns, right? And I told him like, we have one set left, and he kind of just jumped right in, and I already knew he was not gonna go to failure, because like he was just on his phone and then went straight to the pushdowns with no like preparing or anything. Like, before every set, you should take a solid moment to just promise yourself you're not gonna half-ass that set. You know, if you gotta think some dark thoughts or whatever, you know, we've all been there. Yeah, I mean, if you gotta think back to 3rd grade when little Jimmy mixed your Play-Doh colors together, you know, I won't judge you. Another one, obviously, having some good music always helps. Get your chill music out of the gym, okay? Just listen to whatever gets you to go hard, right? Oh, also, I gotta call out a few people here. If you are one of these people who during their set is on like a call on their AirPods in the gym, what are you doing? Like, are you here to work out or talk to your friends on the phone? Like, there's no way you're going hard on your set if you're literally on the phone with someone during your set. Also, maybe having a training partner would help you go harder, but at least for me personally, I kind of prefer just being alone. But I mean, it could definitely help. Here, let's talk about stimulants, particularly caffeine. Obviously, that's like the main stimulant. I don't consume caffeine at all. I haven't in about a year or so. And honestly, I think like you can kind of just get over reliant on it. And I mean, that's a whole different discussion on why it's not good. But pretty much, like, I think you should just try to develop and learn to develop that energy like naturally and without caffeine, because then you can actually sustain it and produce it over and over again instead of having these highs and lows from caffeine. Let me tell you, I'm most rage filled I've ever been, and I don't consume any caffeine. Also, make sure you're just like well hydrated and stuff, and have good sleep, warm up when you get to the gym, just like get feeling good. You know, you don't just want to walk in there in the morning when you're all cold and tired and start your set. Like, make sure you're prepared and feeling good. But you know, at the end of the day, it's all about just how bad you want it and the effort you put in yourself. And obviously, like, we're all humans, so we're gonna slip up every now and then. I think it's just useful to have a reminder that you should be going to failure. And honestly, like, whenever I always think I'm going to failure, I'm just not. Like, it just might surprise you, you know? Also, recently I've been helping a few people with their workouts and stuff. I used to do this just like pretty casually with like a bunch of people, but now I'm starting to like take it seriously. I have maybe 3 like clients. I mean, they're not clients, just that's way too fancy. They're just friends I'm helping out. But like, yeah, I mean, I'm looking for some more people, so if you're down, totally free. If you want me to make you a workout plan, talk about diets, just everything, tracking stuff. Basically, if you just want personal help with your fitness for totally free, then either email me, DM me on Instagram, or just comment or something. Yeah, that's it for the video. Have a good day.